to us about the marketing company you picked and why.
Cool. Hi everyone, thank you for having me today. It's been great so far. So my name is Yoann, I'm the CMO of Nude. We're a Fintech savings app for first-time home buyers to help them save for their first deposit. We recently actually started working with Tempo, so shout out Polly in the back somewhere. It's working very well. And I've been there for about 2 years now, and it feels like day one still. It's still startup, still early days. And what did I pick? Go straight into the topic. Okay. So what I picked today is something that I thought would be maybe slightly different from maybe what you hear often, which is brands, just like people, all have shadows. And what I mean by that is that there's a tactic that is not often used by brands, especially in fintech, which is building an alternative brand alongside your main business. And that's one of the reasons why I joined Nude to begin with. Pre-product, they decided that a brilliant idea to set up a newsletter, which they called Adultish. So we can check it online. It's adulti.sh. I don't know which country this is, but it's a great use of the .sh. And they started growing this newsletter pre-product. The newsletter was about the more long-term vision of what Nude is about, which is helping you saving for any goals in your life. We're starting with the first one, but we have all our different goals, and we aim to expand into other goals in the future. So they went from the long-term vision and built something that was alongside what the product was going to be about to begin with. And the way they shaped it was every 2 weeks, get someone to be interviewed, reach out to people that are doing exciting things from various backgrounds, from mostly in the UK, but we got some people from all over the world. And just use the newsletter technique to get organic word of mouth, people sharing the newsletter because it's just cool content. And what was it about? It was about just becoming an adult, getting your shit together, like a broader kind of message. And when I came in, the newsletter was about, I think, 20,000 subscribers at that point, all organic. And they kept at it, I think, every 2 weeks without fail, a little interview of someone in their 20s, becoming an adult, tips on career, relationship, things like that, the main pillars of life. When I came into the picture, actually, I had to go back to something that Ada said at the beginning, to go into the boardroom and justify why we needed to continue doing it, because they were like, what's the ROI of this? And I had like a whole story prepped about it, which is a bit of what I just said to you, it's a long-term vision of what the business want to be in a very long term. But it was also about creating engagement. Most people don't want to engage with brands, but they're okay engaging with meme accounts, alternative things that makes them laugh or cry or creates emotion. And it was a great way for us to have this Trojan horse kind of technique to get people to get into the newsletter and then use it as a way to promote Nude alongside it in a very semi-open way. So I managed to save it. We also ran some data around people, basically literally the week before the boardroom. We did some analysis on customers that were subscribed to the newsletter versus the ones who didn't, customers of Nude. And we saw that there was, I think, 25% more chances of them saving with Nude if they were on the newsletter. So there was a high probability of that engagement creating more affinity with the main brand, therefore we need to keep doing it. And I thought that was a very unique thing that they started. We saved it, and now it's about close to 300,000 people. We made it part of the Nude ecosystem a little bit more officially, and every week we're trying to move it to a weekly rhythm. We can see every week that people are converting from adultation to nude, and that fuels growth in a way that is like purely organic, purely content-led, and use this alternative persona brand that we created around adultation, which in comparison to nude, I get email every week from people saying, I love the last one, like the hot links that you put in at the end of the newsletter was amazing, I had easy for it. I don't get that necessarily on nude, but on adultation you get crazy engagement on people really loving what we share with them. Yeah, just to be a tip.
So the marketing campaign for Nude is Adultish, the newsletter, and I'm looking forward to diving into the how a bit more. But Nicola, let's hear from you and Kroo. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit, and then what marketing campaign did you pick for Kroo?
So hi, my name is Nicola Vidal, and I'm the head of marketing at Kroo. So I joined Kroo more or less at the same time as Yoann joined Nude. So we've got similar paths. So when I joined Kroo, we didn't have a banking license. We had a banking license with restrictions. We hadn't raised Series B. We did that last year. So around May and June, we got the Series B and the banking license. And then we launched our digital bank, probably the worst time of the year, the 5th of December 2022. Who launches a bank in December? Usually you would do it earlier, but as you know, with startups, things just delay and we had to launch last year, so we did it. So let's not talk about that campaign because it didn't really work that well, but we had some learnings for the new campaign, which is the one that we're going to talk about. So the campaign that I picked is the Out of Home campaign that we launched in January.
I think you have I'm hearing like a ringing sound.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's try again. Sorry.
That's all right. So it's the Out of Home campaign.
Is it mic to mic sound? Okay, let me turn it off. Okay.
Sorry, again.
Yes.
It sounds very
Maybe turn it off and use this one instead.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We made it to the last one without technical issues.
Okay, should we go?
So,
It's working. Is it on?
Is it what?
Yes.
Great, finally. So the Out of Home campaign that we launched towards the end of Jan, which is quite a bold move for a company that have just literally just launched. And some people are asking us, why did you go with outdoor? Well, firstly, because it's relatively cheap as a above the line campaign. You can get a lot of inventory in a very short period of time, and you get humongous amounts of eyeballs. So we launched this campaign just for 2 weeks in zone 1 and 2 on the tube, and also on some buses. We were a little bit greedy, and we did specify some tube stations, like for example Holborn, which is where we are. That was a bit of a vanity, so that everyone that went to the office could see it, and the investors and the CEO and everyone else. It worked. We also picked Liverpool Street Bank. It was a bit of an expensive test, which we learned for the next one. What we found was that people were seeing the ads, and then they were seeing our digital campaign, and then they were seeing our affiliate campaign, and then they would see something else, and they would convert. So we didn't know whether it would work or not. It was a bit of a pun, but it really made a humongous impact, to the point that we actually put the second campaign, which was cheaper than the first one, because we did learn what didn't work on the second one. And it helped that we had a really competitive interest rate as well. We launched at 3.03%. That was unheard of for a current account. It was the best rate in the market at that time, and it just got picked up really well. But it just shows that sometimes you just need to do something different, as opposed to going with the norm. doing just this. So that wasn't enough for us. We needed to build awareness, we needed to build trust, and we needed to do it now. And we couldn't wait until June after 6 months of launching. So yeah, very proud of that campaign.
Nice. So the first thing I'd like to cover is kind of how you measure success. So at Nude, you've got 300,000 on your newsletter. That's really amazing. How do you, sorry?
We will take around that.
Yeah, around. So how do you measure success now? Because a newsletter, or someone who signs up to a newsletter doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna join you. So how do you measure the success of the newsletter now?
Yeah, good question. So, like I said, this year we transitioned the newsletter under the same life cycle system that we use for Nude. So it's part of the same set of flows that we use for customers. And we're able to track assisted conversion, like super simple. So now when we said before, when it wasn't the case, it was purely an engagement type of channel. But we were seeing it was already now being within the same CRM system. We just, every week we're able to tell like 10, 20, 30 customers who are created of that one email. So that's how we measure success. We also now trying to turn it into a revenue generator, talking to a few people, including Kroo, waiting for an answer, on sponsoring the newsletter. I think it genuinely can create value. I think like others like Supla and stuff, like they do sell. I see way all the time on the Supla newsletter. So our ones could be also prone to not only fintech or B2B businesses, but also just like any DTC product beyond British, because it's broader than just first-time buyers. So we're trying to do that because it's it would be nice to justify more marketing budget for me to create revenue off the back of the newsletter. But yeah, generally speaking, it creates customer people saving to me that we can track that. So that's how we do it.
And you mentioned also like quality of customers. That's another way that you're tracking it, right? So people who are signed up to your newsletter are more likely to then use
Yeah. So I would say every quarter we do that thing that we did for the boardroom with a much bigger sample size now, and be able to correlate the subscription to the newsletter being a factor into converting a better customer, basically saying more often all the time, and retention all the time.
Nice, awesome. And so, Nicola, how are you when it comes to tubes and buses? How are you tracking and measuring success with the OOH campaigns?
It's very difficult to measure,
I know.
as everyone knows. What we did have was a baseline in terms of what were the digital channels that we were actually that we had live, what they were driving, and what was the percentage of organic traffic. So what we did is we just looked at that before and after the campaign launched. It was a bit difficult because even though we only paid for 2 weeks, the campaign was running for about 6. So we got a significant amount of overshow for free, so that's always great. So we looked at that, and as well as where the ads were running. When we did the second campaign, we also tested Manchester. So that was easier because we didn't really target Manchester at all. So we could actually see how Manchester was performing before and after the campaign. The second campaign had even longer overshow. So that one launched at the beginning of April, and it was still running 2 weeks ago. It's not there anymore, but you pay for 2 weeks and you get 2 months or 3 months, pretty good.
And so strategy, I'm gonna go to you, Nicola. When you're building an OOH campaign, say you start planning for the next one, how do you plan for that? How do you put the strategy together for that?
I had an agency that did this for me, so I can't do this by myself. But we had contemplated different above the line choices. For us, we had seen what Deliveroo and Monzo had done, and they've done the tubes. We knew that this was a medium that works if it's done well. So it was a no-brainer really. we only wanted to test, the first time we only wanted to test London because it's expensive. Then we went with Manchester, we really liked it. So we're looking at doing another one probably around September, where we're going to be testing other areas because then we can measure the success. And for us, it's difficult to justify, but the amount of people that have said that they've seen the ads, they've seen the tube, it is incredible. And I was pretty shocked myself.
And how about you? Is there a strategy for adultish moving forward? I mean, you said you're going to try and do it every week now, but how are you? What does strategy now look like for adultish?
Yeah, so trying to increase frequency, trying to get better guests as well. We get all the guests for free. The beauty of a newsletter like this is people also really like to talk about themselves. So they like exposure, or we tell them the numbers, they like, they share like I want to build my profile, and they share on their profile. It's like a nice virtuous cycle around that. So increasing frequency, and then if I can afford it, creating more content around it and distribute it even further. So instead of just doing a newsletter, I love it for it to be a podcast, and having like a bit more of a long form piece that could be attached to the newsletter and be even more present on the voice of platform.
And my last question is one that was asked in our Slack group that I thought was really good, which is, we're talking about marketing campaigns that are succeeding now, but what defines a bad marketing campaign? Like clearly you've been testing, like in different areas, and you're also testing different things at Nude. When do you decide to like pull the plug and say, okay, this clearly isn't working anymore? I'll start with you.
That's a good question. So one of the things that we tried that we haven't, again, like Shamir shared, probably because we haven't done it right, it's like paid marketing. It's probably our fault, but we tried the kind of like stunt PR kind of thing with an agency. That was like just before, in the middle of me joining full time 2 years ago. We had this like very clever idea. We go in the street with an ATM machine. We had Yoann, I can't remember his last name, the Halifax. If you're old enough, I didn't even know it because I'm French, but apparently it was like a figure like the Halifax advertising back in the days. We go in, and we were trying to be in the street for a few days, create content, distribute that, get new journalists to talk about it. That completely flopped. That was a big, I wish we didn't spend that money on that. It was using an agency, so it was very expensive. Combined with a PR agency, can't even tell you the price of this. It's not, I'm ashamed. But I wasn't there for the decision, so I can't blame myself. But yeah, it was fair. I don't think it's a bad thing to do. It's just like it needs to be done, but executed very, very well for it to resonate. But yeah, that was a bad campaign. So the way we said it was a bad campaign is because we didn't get any coverage. Journalists were talking about that we had for the campaign, but not about news. There was no backlinks, no photo links into our websites, and customer numbers and website traffic were like completely flat, like no uptick. So yeah, not bad.
And how are you, Nicola? How are you? Because you're doing a lot of testing right now. When do you decide to not go forward with the campaign or an area or something that isn't working?
It's quite difficult to say because we've only been live for about 7 months, so we're still very much in testing phase. But a couple of campaigns that we've tested that haven't really worked, and I'm not saying I'm not going to do them again, but I'm seriously thinking maybe not. Was when we launched the 3.3%, we also launched a programmatic display campaign, which very much mirrored the same design that we had on the tube and the buses. I mean, it's very old school to do display these days. And what I did realize was that the agency that was running this did not know how to track from the ads to the app, which meant that I got humongous amounts of impressions, and they can sell impressions to death. But I had maybe 3 installs. So yeah, you can talk about attribution, you can talk about multiple things as an agency. But for me, it's like, dude, I spent a lot of money on this, and you can't really see where the money went. So I'm seriously thinking twice about trying this thing. I know it works, I know you can track it well now. So it's just maybe finding another agency and having another go. TikTok is for us still a very uncharted territory. I know that you've done it very, very well. We are at the beginning of TikTok. And I think for us it's content, test. So watch this space. That's the next one that we're going to attempt and hopefully not fail.
Well, thank you so much. There's so much here that we can talk about in terms of marketing campaigns, but I want to open it to the floor. Does anyone have any specific questions for Yoann and Kroo here? So, sorry, Nicola. Sorry,
That's all right. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick question. So you have out-of-home, you have content. Two questions connected. One is, what's the impact that you in the conversion piece with that? Is it part of the overall, strategies, one touch point out of something? And the other thing is, let's start with that.
Question. So for us now it's integrated because that is part of the overall calculation of like how we measure CAC and payback period and stuff. Like Nicola mentioned, we're doing pretty well on paid marketing. So often it's pretty simple. We get customers as the lowest cost possible on social channels. They try onboarding. It's very effective as part of giving us their detail. Then at some point they will also get advantage as part of so it's part of the full funnel of the ecosystem of what Nude is proposing. And we measure it, like I said, on the channel by channel, but also like overall. So it's part of the overall calculation. Yeah, sure.
We do something similar as well. So instead of each individual channel, we just add it all up and divide it by the number of users. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to test things like Apple because it's more expensive, or other things that with iOS 14 you can track like Facebook very well. So it's totally divided by number, and then the cheaper the CAC, the more you can test.
I think there's a big difference as well with a few years ago where sometimes brand awareness campaigns were sitting a little bit outside of the calculation, and it was kind of fine. It was like, I'm going to take 20%, and we don't really take that into consideration. This year and last year, it's not really the case anymore, and everything needs to be accounted for the calculation.
Just to build up on that, what's the attribution model that you use? Is it like a first touch, last touch point, or time decay?
No, right now it's like last touch.
Last touch.
Very beginning
of attribution. Usually when attribution comes into play, I change shows.
Hi, firstly I just wanted to say to Nicola, I'm actually a Kroo customer, and I found it through word of mouth rather than digital campaign right out of home. So quite an interesting one for you perhaps, that it went around my friendship circle. We're not even based in London, so we wouldn't have seen any of your out-of-home ads. And it was one of the friends found it, loved the whole interest rate thing, started telling everybody she knew, so quite a lot of us signed up quite quickly. So just wanted to kudos to you for that, because word of mouth is already working quite quickly for you, I would say. And so just to add on to that, given that's the thing, how did you, for such a new brand, sort of split up how you decided to do your marketing? Was there a percentage split of cost in, we'll spend X amount on digital marketing versus X amount on out of home, and how did you figure out that split?
Yeah, it was very much, we put as I said before, a percentage of budget on testing, branding, that's the out-of-home campaign, and then the rest on channels that we can really track. Because at the end of the day, the board and the investors want to see results. And as much as they love seeing an ad on the tube, they're like, well, what did that deliver? So we usually put around 20 to 30% of budget on that. the test and the branding, and then we just do it day in, day out, tracking everything that you can track campaigns. We are starting to launch refer-a-friend campaigns as well. We know that word of mouth is, it's one of the cheapest channels that you can get. When people are happy, they tell friends. They also tell friends when they're not happy. And we saw that when we were too successful with Money Saving Expert and everything went badly because we couldn't cope.
Any more questions?
We've discussed in other talks how creatives are important in your marketing messaging. So I wanted to ask Nicola, when you were developing Tube ads, like how did you approach that? Did you do any digital testing maybe to see what would work? Because I would imagine it's a big budget, you want to make the right decision.
In an ideal world, I would say yes, we would have tested. The reality is that on January the 4th, we decided we were going to go live on the 24th of Jan. And we had 1 week to come up with a creative in-house, with no one had done this before, and go live. So we just did it without testing. I know that sounds really cool. It's exactly how it happened. When we went live, we realized that we should have gone pink instead of dark blue. And that's what we did with the next one, which we made a lot of changes in the copy. We made it very clear what we were. People didn't see the difference between a current account and a savings account. And so we made the percentage bigger. So we tested with going live. I know it's not the right way of doing it, but when you don't have time, you just go with it.
Awesome. Any other questions? Anyone else? Nope. One more.
Just to finish the day.
I was just interested in, based on previous conversations, how much do you talk to your product team and your tech team in terms of how do you align the roadmap with your marketing plans and how that sort of virtuous circle of sort of customer testing and product development works?
So I'll start. Almost every day, to be honest, especially in the early days, like the last 2 years, it's been very intense. We launched a lot of, you need to create attraction, like, to take off as a startup when you have no customers, when you just begin. A lot of the discussion, I believe, should be around growth and like growth loops and virality within the product, which is often kind of left too late. Thinking that you're going to build a product and people are going to come is, I think it's completely wrong. So we did a lot of that at the beginning, and we still talk about it every week at least. Like we've got like 17, but our head of product and myself are best friends at the company. So I spend a lot of my time talking to him about prioritization on improvement of existing features versus developing new features that will potentially unlock a little bit more of the target market or the network of a customer around that customer. So, okay. Very important.
Same applies to us. So we're part of the same team, product and marketing, and we're very much aligned. We purposely launched the app in a very simple app because we didn't want to add too many things that people didn't want. In too many past cases, I've had products that no one really wants, but that's because the CEOs thought that would be the right thing. That's what my son wants, type of thing. So we went light, and then we've been adding products and testing the products based on people's wants and needs, and reading what they write in Trustpilot, what they say to our customer services team, kind of like building a customer-centric product, which I know sounds weird, but that's what we should be doing all the time. So yeah, it's very much constantly talking to them, testing, are you sure this is what people want? The people are asking for stuff and we're building it. And I think that's really important. But also things that we know that matter to people. The interest rate is not a gimmick. We just want to give back, and I think that's important. And because we can, and people should do that. And it's something that people are really happy with. So yeah, just building things that people want with the product team.
That's it. And then on the consumer side of things, you can see there's almost like two ways to look at it. You can obviously talking to your customer, you can see your core customers, the ones who already arrived, and they tell you something. But then you've got customers that are on the fringe of what you're building, and to get to the next level, once you're stable enough in the core features that you build, you need to look for the outliers, the ones that are telling you something new that your existing users are not telling you. Those are the kind of information I think we pay attention to get to the next, what's the next level of growth or features to develop.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for